everyone, Sandeep here from BAM Talks. Today I'll be speaking to Arpita and we'll be speaking a little bit about egg freezing and just everything associated to that. I'd seen her Instagram stories and found that it was really helpful information, stuff that we don't really know a lot about. So hiya, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Do you want to just introduce yourself, kind of what you do, who you are?
Yes, okay. So I am Arpita Karanya. I'm actually a hair and makeup artist. I've been doing it for 13 years now. And actually before that, I was actually a physicist before that. So I worked in a hospital. Then I don't know, I just felt like there was a really huge creative side of me that wasn't kind of being used, and I felt like I just wanted to do something more creative, so that's why I ended up doing hair and makeup. So yeah, I've been doing it for 13 years, and I'm actually 41 now, which is probably important information when it comes to this whole topic. So I thought I'd just throw that one in there as well. Yeah.
Well, can I just say you look absolutely amazing. 41. I hope I look that good and I'm 41.
Oh, I'm sure. There's so much stuff out there now about like anti-aging and all that stuff.
Everything I know. Okay, so let's have a little chat about kind of your egg freezing journey, kind of what brought you to discover that and what encouraged you to kind of take that step as well.
I suppose there was always this like tug of war inside when you're younger, because on the one hand I was always this career-minded person, but at the same time I've always wanted children, but it's all also about just finding the right person, and I never wanted to sacrifice like not finding the right person because I was like just concerned about my biological like clock and stuff, but basically how it really happened, or how the idea happened for me, is when I was younger, I knew that my mum had an early menopause. So I was 15 when my mum had early menopause, but she was like 41, 42. She was around 41, 42. So it was always in the back of my head that I had to that could be a possibility for me, and that I had like just bear that in mind. Yes, and then I asked my mum as well, like, what age did my grandma have menopause? And she was like, she also had it early, like 41, 42. So I was like, oh great, that means that there's a chance that I will as well. And it actually runs through the maternal side. So when you do have menopause, is very similar to your mom's and your grandma's. So I kind of made some like goals in my life, I suppose, as I was growing up, because I was like, okay, when I get to 40, when I was in my 20s, I was like, okay, when I get to my 30s, I'm going to have to really think about this now. What can I do? And I don't know where the whole like egg freezing came from, because it was such a long time it did come into my mind, but I was just like, okay, I'll do it like later on, if meet somebody. So when 30 came and my early 30s came, and I just wasn't meeting the right person, attracting kind of people in my life, I was just kind of like, oh my god, you know what, I'm gonna have to put like a timeline on this now. So I made a promise to myself that when I get to 35, that I will freeze eggs. And then when I got to 35, obviously there's all this other concerns that happen, because you're like, okay, but what if I meet him tomorrow? You still think that you're going to meet the person, right? You just keep thinking you're going to meet the right person, and time just goes so quickly. And then I think, so I was, not really, I was kind of putting it off as well, because I was thinking, oh my god, it cost a lot as well. So it's all these things about like, oh, the cost, and like there's always that hope that you're going to meet that right person. But then when I got to 35, I was like, I really have to, like, I've only really got 6 years in my head. I was like, I've only got really 6 years. I need to really like go to the doctors and tell them about this. Because I didn't know where to go. I didn't know like how it all works. I didn't know like how do I like I don't know, like, what clinic am I supposed to go to? Like, how do I choose them? How do I, like, I ask them for? Like, I didn't know what I was doing. So I thought, let me just go to the doctors. And I went to and it was actually a really bad experience when I went to the doctor, because it was an Asian woman, and it was an Asian doctor, and she was quite old, not old, age. And I said to her that basically my mom had the early menopause and my grandma had the early menopause, and I'm now 35, and I was like, I need to freeze my eggs. And she goes, don't be silly. She said, don't be silly. You can't freeze your egg. There's no such thing. Yeah, just she goes, it's not possible. You just have to go on shadi.com and find a guy. And I was like, what? She goes, or ask your mum and dad to introduce you to some guys and get married, and then you can have a baby like that. And I was like, what? And it was like the worst advice. And it still annoys me to this day, I suppose, because it was like, I was ready to freeze my eggs at that point.
Yeah.
And like, I give you that advice and I didn't know where to go. I went to someone to give me the advice that I needed. Obviously, most people think that when they go to the doctors, right? That's they'll direct them. But I just got the worst advice. So I was like, I don't know what to do. But I went back home and I was like, oh man, I don't know what to do. And then after, like, I just kept putting it off and I kept putting it off. And then I started to hear other people talking about it, like, other women saying, you know what, I'm thinking of freezing my eggs. So I was like, okay, what do you do? And then they were telling me that, oh, you can do it through your doctors. And I was like, really? I was like, yeah, but you need to be trying with a partner. I was like, I don't have a partner. I was like, I don't know what to do. So eventually, time's just going by, and every year I'm still thinking about it, 35, 36, 37, and I'm still hoping that I'm going to meet this guy, and then I'll just get pregnant, like, straight away after, like, we get married, and it'll be fast, the process, everything will be okay. You just keep hoping for the best, right? And time just goes, and it just goes and goes, and then I got to 40, and that was like the deadline. Yeah, that was like, okay, I've literally got 2 years. Okay, 1 or 2 years. I need to do it now. Like, there's no, I really just can't leave it. And and that's when I was like, okay, what do I do? I still was confused. I was like, which clinic? What do I do? So even I kept like, I did like, still put it off, even though it was really at the front of my mind. It took me like 4 months, I suppose, into my 40th, which, like, I was planning to do the whole year, but I had to get help from someone who had actually experienced it themselves. And I was like, I don't know what am I looking for? Like, what do I do with the clinics, and how does this all work and everything? So she literally had to sit me down and guide me, because there's not that much information, like, online, and there's not enough guidance. There's not enough, like, awareness, I suppose, of, like, how to do it. And so it's overwhelming if you're about to do it yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that was a key thing in my procrastination. That's why one of the things that I was procrastinating, obviously the money, but at that point you're like, whatever, I'll just find a way to find the money now, because you have no choice, right? And so I then booked an appointment with my first consultation, and that was really when I was just like, well, even before I went to the consultation, I actually went to the doctors first, and it was new doctors this time. Okay, and I just asked them for blood tests, because I said, I'm going to go for egg freezing and I need to take all this stuff with me. And he was like, the doctor said to me, and I said, my mom had the early menopause and my grandma had the early menopause, and I'm now 40, and I was like, I need to do this. And he was like, well, on that basis, you could have done it on the NHS. And I was like, why did the other doctor not tell me this? And I was like, it's too late now, because the waiting list for NHS is 2 years. And then I was like, oh man, that's such a bummer. But I was like, it doesn't matter now. I just forget the money, forget the whole thing. I need to get on it. And so then I went to my first consultation, and that was really when I got my first kind of, like, a reality check. And I had no idea that basically when they told me that actually the fertility rate and the success rate actually drops with age, I had no idea. I thought, as long as you're on your period, it's the same kind of it's the same kind of chances. And I had no idea that how much actually the fertility actually just drops down, especially after 35. And so that was just like a really big shock to me. I was like, I've just left it to the last 2 years, right? And I was like, what are my chances now? And then yeah, so that was a really big, it was like a ton of bricks just coming down on you. Like, you're like, what have I done? Like, why did I leave it? Why did I wait? Why did I procrastinate? But then at the same time, I was like, well, even if I wait for a guy now, I mean, I haven't got much choice or chances. So this is my only chance. And so I just took it, and I was just like, I'm just going to do it. But along the way, I've learned so much, and I've learned actually that the reason why your fertility, the fertility actually drops down is not because of the egg itself, because it's actually because of a lot of external factors. And as you get older, the external stuff actually, you're damaging the eggs more, because you don't have enough, say, like mitochondria in you, or energy in you to kind of help the improvement or the development of an egg. And so there's all these things that you can actually do to actually improve the quality. It doesn't matter about your age, but it's a lot of things to do, and a lot of things to consider as you get older, but it's not impossible. And so that kind of gave me, the more that I read about it, and the more that I researched about it, then I realized actually it gave me a lot more hope. And and so I have now done 3 rounds of egg freezing, and that's what happens as well as you get older, because you don't produce as many follicles in one cycle, so you have to repeat them. So I've done 3, and I'm going to do 1 more, and that will be my last one, and I think I'll have enough eggs by then to have a baby. Yeah. Yeah, so that's where I'm at now.
That's amazing. And you know what, that point that you made about it feeling like there was like a ton of bricks that came down on you, it's so true, because like I said at the start, we just don't know enough about stuff like this. And I definitely think it's helpful having somebody like you come on and teach us, essentially, because I'm in my 20s and I want to know these things. I think it's really important for us to know that actually your eggs do decrease as you get older and things like that. I think it's so important just to know this information.
It is, and it's also and I really love sharing it as well, because I don't want women out there to be in the same situation as I am, because now we are career driven, and we shouldn't sacrifice that and have to compromise later on in life because we didn't know about this information, this really crucial information. A lot of people want their careers in place, and they want to be stable now before they have children. That's how they mostly feel. But then what happens is it just and it can take up to your 35 to even get to that point, or even longer to get to that point these days. So women shouldn't have to sacrifice that. But if more women knew about it, and they knew their options, and they knew that they can do this.
100%. And one thing I would say is, I know your first experience with your first GP wasn't as helpful, but I would definitely recommend that everybody does speak to a few doctors, get the opinion of 3 or 4 doctors, and especially younger, earlier on, and just asking what are my options? This is my scenario. I know a lot of people with kind of polycystic ovaries, endometriosis, early menopause, things like that. Just go to your GP and just say, look, this is my circumstance, what are my options? And a lot of the time they are really helpful. But on the odd occasion that you have that one bad experience, you have to kind of brush it off and just think, you know what, I'm going to ask another doctor. Because a lot of them, they do have their own opinions at the end of the day as well. So you just have to...
Yeah, I totally agree with that, actually. And it's so important to feel like a positive vibe from your doctor as well, because there are, even when you go to a clinic, I actually went to 2 clinics for my egg freezing. So I had a consultation with both, two different ones, which were well known. But it was it's really strange because the first one, when I went there, I just got I just felt like there was no hope. The information that they gave me, or the way that they were delivering it, and the stats that they gave me the impression that there was no hope. And I was almost like, oh my god, what have I done? But then I went again to another consultation, and they were just like really positive. And then that was like, okay, I like this, there's hope, right? And so I feel like, sometimes sometimes that's what you need, like even with the doctor, not, like there is always hope. You just have to find the doctor that will give you that hope.
No, I 100% agree. And like that positive reinforcement is so important as well, because even things that like do impact the way your eggs are produced and stuff like that, like if you're having negative reactions, that's going to stress you out so much more. It's not going to help your actual body anyway. So just to have that positive kind of feedback, I think is definitely important. Obviously with the risks attached, but to have that positive person, I suppose.
It really is, because a huge part of fertility is having a positive mindset. Like you really have to, the mindset is so key. So it's so important that you're getting that all around you. And if someone is like, not giving that to you, then obviously it's going to affect your own mental like state.
Yeah, no, that's so true. So how does the actual egg freezing process work? What do you have to do? And I have no idea how it works, so teach me.
Okay. So freezing process. So first of all, before the egg freezing process itself, you have like a lot of pre-tests. So they check your hormones, and they check like all these different things to see what's going on as well. You have scans as well to see what's going on with your cycles, and then the doctor will have like an idea about like how your cycle actually runs, and how the hormones actually run throughout your cycle as well, and whether it is like running okay, and whether you ovulate and everything like as you should. Once you've done that, then you start your cycle. So a cycle is basically starts on the first day of your period. So on the first day of your period, you then have like around 12 to 16 days of injections. So what are they doing when they inject you is basically we'll go back to a little bit about the way the woman's body works. So what happens is like when you're born, you're born with like around 1 million to 2 million eggs. Okay. And everyone's a little bit different. So some have got more, some have got less. But even before you get to before you even get to like puberty, you've lost a lot of eggs. So you're always like releasing and getting rid of eggs, right? Or they're just dying off. But as you get older, these eggs are just like, they're just going, and you've only got that egg reserve. But every single month, you have like an X amount of follicles that are produced, and within those follicles you've got the eggs. You've got your eggs, right? But every month when you have your period, what happens is only one of those eggs will develop. It will be the dominant egg, and then that one will then like ovulate, and you can have a baby with that if it gets fertilized. But all the other ones will just kind of die off. So when you're younger, you can have like 30, you can have quite a lot of like follicles, right? But as you get older, the number of follicles every single month also reduces. So by the time you're like in your 40s, you only have like, sometimes people only have 2 follicles in a cycle. Some can have like 6, 7. It's not a high number compared to when you were younger.
Yeah.
But when you go through IVF, is the injections, what they're doing is they're giving you the follicle stimulating hormone, which is basically making sure that all the eggs, all the follicles, all the eggs within the follicles are growing as well, not just that one. Yeah. So they're they're recruiting as many follicles as they can, as many eggs as they can in one cycle. So they all have to grow to like 2 millimeters or 1.8 millimeters. And then when they see that in the scan, and then they will like, and you're just about to ovulate, that's when they will like put you under sedation, and then they collect the eggs. So that is the process basically.
That's crazy. And how is your journey going so far? How have you found it?
It's going really well. Like, it's going okay. Like the first 2 cycles, the first cycle was not bad. I was just kind of like really naive about it, and I was, I was really positive as well. That was last June, but eggs collected that time, and so when I had the 3 eggs collected, I was kind of like, okay, that means I'm gonna have to do it like at least 2 more times. So I had prepared myself, and I was like, that's fine. But then when I actually went to then I had planned to do it in December, but then when I went in December, my hormones wasn't right. They were all over the place, and also my when they scanned me, I literally only had like 1 or maybe 2 follicles. Like, this isn't a really good month for you, because you might actually not collect any eggs. It's like you might not even collect any eggs. And I was like, and that kind of got me like worried. And I was like, because the year before, when I had my initial scan, I had 11 follicles, and then I was like, within a year it's dropped down to 2. And then I started to worry, like, oh my god, am I close to menopause now? Because obviously I'm really close to that age that my mum had menopause. So I started to get worried about it. And then the next month again, I again had I was like, even if I'm gonna have menopause, I'm just gonna have to collect as many as I can, even if it's, and just hope for the best. I know it's a lot, but that's the only chance I have, right? So the next month I did it again, and they were still a little bit like, well, you don't have a lot here, right? And at the end I did have like, I think 4 follicles, because they just appeared during the cycle. But then I was like, that's fine. I was just still hoping for that 3 or 4 follicles, but then I mean, sorry, eggs. But then on the when they collected, they found that actually 3 of them were empty. The follicles were empty, which is quite, it's not that common. And there was only 1 egg, which means that the quality was not good as well. So I think from that December to the January, I really started to think, oh my god, like the quality of my eggs are not good, and also there isn't that many. And then I started to worry, and then that's when I started to like, and then I was like, okay, I heard about supplements, and even though I had heard about the supplements from the first cycle, I just was like really like, had this like really optimistic like mindset, like, it's mind over matter, everything will be okay. I don't need drugs, I don't need vitamins, my body is still like how it was when I'm 20. I still had that kind of like believing that was the true. But actually after that, after seeing that, I was like, actually I'm going to take whatever I need, and hopefully it's going to be better for my next cycle. So I started to take loads of supplements. And then luckily I was in lockdown as well, and so I didn't realize that there was all these other factors that actually affected my egg quality, and I had no idea. Like, I have never slept before lockdown. I had never slept like 7 or 8 hours straight in my life without waking up a million times in the night. And I was never a routine person as well. Because I was always on the go all the time, like I didn't eat like correctly, or I didn't eat like morning, lunch and dinner. I didn't have all of this stuff. Is like, I was surrounded by a lot of makeup and hair, and apparently that also has a lot of toxins. So even my doctor told me on the second time, like, he goes, what do you do? And I said, I'm makeup artist. He said, that do not do makeup or anything whilst you're on treatment, okay? Because it's got a lot of toxins in it. I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't know all of this stuff, but obviously for the last 3 months, I haven't had to do all of that. Or or I haven't, like, I've slept properly, I've eaten properly, haven't been surrounded by loads of people, I've just not had as much stress or running around. And I had no idea that all of these things were actually like really helping my body and preparing it. It was almost like there was too many synchronicities, because the from the day that we were in lockdown to the day that my eggs were collected, it was 3 months. It was 3 months, and they say that it takes 3 months as well for an egg to actually develop before ovulation. So basically, what happens is the 3 months before the ovulation, the eggs are chosen. So they are chosen which ones are going to be the ones that are ovulated. Your body actually chooses them. So from that point, you've got 3 months to make sure that they're developed correctly and they've got everything that they need. And so it was exactly 3 months, which is just a really weird coincidence. That all these things and all these changes had happened, and then the eggs were like collected. And during my last one, I was really shocked because I had so much more follicles. And during the whole cycle as well, there were 5 of the follicles were growing at the same rate, and that was not common. Like that's what they want, but it doesn't always happen. And it never happened for the other 2, and I was like, oh my god, like it's almost like they were responding better to the because they were here. And then we collected 5. And so I was just like, wow. I was like, that was proof for me that actually it was a whole lot of factors that affect your egg quality. And if you just change your lifestyle, especially when you're about to get pregnant, or you want to have a child, you're trying to conceive, or go through IVF, or go through egg freezing, whatever path you're doing, if you're trying to conceive naturally, like changing your lifestyle, it's a massive difference. And you never think it, like you don't think it until you've seen your own eyes.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that was literally one of the questions I was going to ask you, is what lifestyle changes did you make and how did you find it? But I know even when I've kind of spoken to people about it, I mean, we talk about it relating to our physical and mental well-being, about sleep hygiene, about our diet and stuff like that. But when you actually notice the actual kind of effect it has on your body, especially with your eggs, just to see that response was probably really like good for you, I suppose, because obviously you work in the hair and makeup industry. You're go all the time. I mean, like on social media, we'll see that like you're like awake early, you're on it, like brides and stuff like that. So definitely to have this time, I think it's come at like a really ideal time for you. I know lockdown has been the greatest for everyone, I get that, but for people in kind of your shoes or with health conditions and stuff like that, I found that they've had such an improvement with their sleep and with their diet, and in turn that's really had a good effect on their like well-being. So that's really, really good. And you know what? It makes my lockdown feel a lot better knowing that it's helped people.
Yes, it really has. It's helped everyone, I think, in ways that they probably don't realize. Like, it really has. So it's been a big blessing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So the next question I wanted to ask you is, did you get the support that you hoped for from kind of friends and family and your online following?
Yeah, I did. To be honest, ever since I had my egg freezing, I was doing the egg freezing. I was really open about it. So even when like I had clients and like brides, I'd be like, oh yeah, I just did my egg freezing. I'd just say it really like casually, like being open about it. And I told my mum and my dad early on as well that I'm doing it. At first they were a little bit like, oh, what is this kind of thing? They were just a bit confused. And when I had to really explain it, especially to my mum, that like, you know, the chances, even if I wait for a guy, you know, it's not going to happen. And then I told her, you know, this is how it is with the stats. So, and then the more I spoke to her, and I was telling her actually that there's a lot of people you don't know about in the family who have, they just keep it a secret. And she was like, really? And so I kind of like just made her aware that it's actually more common than she thinks. And then she was more accepting of it as well. And then now that they're very, very supportive of it. And then I did also ask her before I actually posted on my Instagram. I was like, is it okay to post it? I was like, because I need to feel a bit funny about that. She goes, but everyone's going to know your business. And I said, it doesn't matter if people know my business, but I think it's really important that women know about this. It's up to you. And then I posted it, and I remember the moment that I posted that story, like, I was really scared actually to post it. I had to actually message my story to like a few friends before. I was like, I'm going to post this, okay? What do you think? And I was like, I was really nervous about it. And then I was asking other people, I was like, I'm thinking about sharing it. Like, do you think I should? Or like, what do you think? And I was really, really apprehensive and scared. But then I was like, just post it. And in 10 minutes, I can just delete it if it's really bad. It was just like, bing, bing, bing. I just got so many messages. It was like, bing, bing, bing. And I was like, oh my God. And within like, I don't know, even 10 minutes, I got like 50 messages, like direct messages. And then I was like, oh my God, like it just actually went a bit crazy. And within that time, actually, I must have got about around 400, 500 private messages, because not everyone would message there, but they would actually tell me their story. A lot of them are thinking about egg freezing, but they don't know what to do. A lot of them are in my situation, like they're still waiting for the guy. There was a lot of people who are later on in life and they were trying to conceive, or they had gone through IVF, and they were just telling me all the stories, and I was just like really shocked with the amount of people that were going through this, but it was not talked about, or it was just like everyone kept keeping it to themselves. And that kind of really got to me as well, because I was like, for me it was such a relief to share it, and it was such a relief to be open about it. And I feel like it helped me with the whole fertility by just being open about it. So I felt like their pain. I felt the pain of them and all everything that they were going through, and I just felt like I wanted to help as well, even more. So it, in some ways, that actually also helped my journey, my cycle that time, because I was just kept reading all these stories, and I'm like going there and getting my injections done and everything. But at the same time, I wasn't even thinking about my own cycle at all. I was literally thinking about all these other people, and I was thinking about their story, and I was thinking about helping them, because people were like asking me for advice, like, what do I do? Where do I go? Where should I go? And I was just like, I felt like I wanted to help them. And that distraction was it was so positive for me, because it was actually helping me in the other way as well, do you know what I mean?
But
like,
yeah,
it was helping.
you didn't realise until it happened, I think.
Yeah, because in some ways I was like, I was building up a lot of hope for them, and as I was building a lot of hope for everybody else, and I wanted to give them hope, I was actually building the hope up for myself. And so I felt like everything that happened within those 3 months was almost like, everything just felt like the universe was kind of like planted everything, and it was all kind of synchronized together. And that and then when I did have like my eggs collected, I really felt, because of everything that's happened, that those eggs are the one. Like, I really, even today, I know that those are the babies. So I think of everything that happened. And so, yeah, I did get a lot of support from a lot of people. I mean, there was a lot. I did also, at the same time, I did lose a lot of followers. And like, I did probably have like 2 trolls, but I mean, compared to all the positive stuff, that's like nothing. Doesn't matter, really. It's relevant.
One thing I always find really crazy about the British Asian community, which is obviously why I started BAM Talks, is that there's so many topics we don't talk about, because there's always this fear of like embarrassment, I don't want people to know, a big thing about nazar and all of that, when actually like I'm really like strongly believe in like educating, and like I want to learn. I feel like everybody who follows us like wants to learn, want to know. And seeing you like post that was honestly, for me, I was just like, thank God, like someone has finally shared their story, because I know so many people who've got these stories and they've experienced these things, they just don't talk about them.
Yeah.
So when you kind of opened up about it, I was like, thank God, like we need somebody like that, especially like within the industry, who is actually like paving the way, like somebody you can ask for advice and kind of get that positivity off, because especially within our community, it's just not something that's spoken about, and everything is very kind of taboo, and we don't talk about it. You just wait and see what happens. It's very much like that, and just kind of hopeful. And I think sometimes you do have to be a bit more realistic and think, you know what, actually I need to do something myself now. So I'm so glad you posted what you did, and like it really like for me, like I was so glad. I was like, thank God.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad it had made a difference when I posted it, and I was so scared to post it, but
I can imagine.
yeah, good that it actually made a difference. But I also was that you know, I did think for a minute, like, and I was thinking when I was asking my mum would think the same thing, but the whole nuzzer thing, like, you know, by posting it, like, will I get, like, you know,
Yeah.
negativity away? But actually the amount of positivity and the amount of like love and the amount of support that I got, I was like, all the negativity is just kind of it, the
Just gets
positivity,
away, doesn't it? Yeah.
yeah, irrelevant. Like, that positiveness was like, yeah, it was the best thing ever. And it was such a learning curve for me as well, because I realized that I've always been this closed person, or this person who's afraid to share or speak out. And the first time that I actually did it to something which was like very, very personal, but I was really shocked that I got so much love and support back. And that for me made me realize that actually there's like, sharing is actually so important. Like, sharing, speaking out is so important. And there's nothing to be afraid of. Like, you shouldn't be afraid that you're going to get judged, because everyone's human and everyone can relate to a lot of things that you're going through. And like, you know, if you give people the chance and you give humans the chance, there's so much love.
I totally agree with you. And especially within like kind of our society today, like with social media being as prevalent as it is, we're really aware of negative people and of kind of nasty people and of trolls and of bullies. We're very aware of that, but I think that makes us sometimes forget that there's such supportive, positive people out there as well. And a lot of the time I feel like we lose that because we're so conscious of that one person who's going to hate you or hate on you, rather than think about the 100 people that are so like just backing you to the end. So
Yeah,
it's really important that kind of you posted that and you had such a good like feedback from it. I think that's really amazing.
yeah, that
But
was really,
that's been a really interesting chat. And I'm so glad like we've talked about this topic, because like it's something that I definitely am like really interested in. I just want to know, like, I'm only 23, but like I want to know what are the options, just in case. Like at the end of the day, you never know. And I feel like it's so important to have somebody like you who, you know, has that experience, has that knowledge. So I'm really glad I've spoken to you today. Thank you so much for having a chat.
thank you as well. I just wanted to say one last thing. So I say that if anybody is like in their 20s, like, if I could go back to my 20s, I wish I had actually just frozen my eggs when I was like 25, 26, because I probably only have to do it one round, so it would have been a lot cheaper. And I know that those eggs would be guaranteed as well to be like really like much better quality. But at the same time, that all those years in between where you're like for a guy, like, you don't have that like biological, like, the time pressure like hanging over you. And I think that's so important, because it will probably lead to making better decisions in your life as well. So just by eliminating that, you know, that pressure can kind of probably change your life and change the decisions you make.
No, that's so true. So true. And I know like I'm a very like forward planning type of person. No, people find that a bit crazy, like, okay, you're thinking about it a bit early, and I'm like, no, like it's never too early to be prepared, I think. But no, that honestly really helpful information. So glad I've spoken to you today. It's been really nice.
I'm
Thank
so glad.
you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And everyone who watches this, I hope that you guys have been given some information, that kind of you didn't know before, and I hope you've learned something from this video. I know I definitely have. So thank you so much, Arpita. It's been lovely speaking to you.
Thank you. Thank you too.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.